There's a special mitzvah in the Torah, Lo sif min hachol ala kodesh, that even though Shabbos or Yontif may start and end at some objective time, some astronomically determined time, nevertheless, we have to add a little bit before that time and a little bit after that time. And according to many Rishonim, this is a mitzvah aseh. This is a mitzvah aseh, a positive commandment. And this is true about Shabbat, Yom Tov, and Yom HaKippurim. All of those special days have a beginning and an end, and they have a Tosefet, an additional amount of time. And this mitzvah of Tosefet exists at the beginning of the day as well as the end of the day. And therefore, you have to start Shabbat, for example, when it's still day. And you have to stop doing anything that is forbidden while it is still day. And on Erev Yom HaKippurim, you have to do the same thing when it comes to Malachim, when it comes to things that are forbidden work. But also the Chamisha Inuyim, the 5 afflictions with which we afflict ourselves on Yom HaKippurim, they start at that time. And this mitzvah of Tosefet Shabbat, Tosefet Yom Tov, is a mitzvah that devolves equally on the man as well as the woman. And we know that when we accept the Shabbat, now we know we have to accept it a little bit earlier, but the way we accept Shabbat, since it's not astronomical, it depends on our determination. It says we accept the Shabbat by speaking. In other words, you have to say it's Shabbat. That's how you do it. It's something special about Shabbat, that even though according to the Torah, Shabbat, Yom Tov, Yom HaKippurim begins at a certain time and ends at a certain time, it really begins when we say it begins, and it ends when we say it ends. And in order to make sure that we have a say, since we can't impinge on the astronomical Shabbat, which is there in the Torah, what the Torah tells us to do, the advice that the Torah gives us, is to add a little bit before and add a little bit afterwards. Now, this little bit is very little. I mean, really, it could just be moments that we add to the Shabbat or add at the end. But the minhag is that there are certain times, I mean, in the formal process when Shabbat begins. We spoke about Hadlakat Deirot, and we know that for women, many women who don't daven Maariv really accept the Shabbat when they light the Shabbat candles. For a man, it's a little bit different, because if you, it may be that when you say in Lachadodi, Bo'i b'shalom ateret ba'ala, sort of like your awareness is that it's Shabbat now, or when you say Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbat, even though there are other times that we say this chapter of Tehillim, but on that time, at Friday night, where we say Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, that is considered to be when Shabbat starts. Right? Even if the person who says these words, Boi b'shalom, Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbat, didn't explicitly state, and now I'm accepting the Shabbat, but we all understand that that's the time when the community, represented by those people who are davening in shul together, accept the Shabbat. So that Shabbat begins when the community deems that it begins. And that is usually either Boi b'shalom ateret ba'ala or Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbat.